Hi, Andrew here. You can't see me though. David is just bringing the X5 in. We're going to do the first transmission service on the X5 since it had the rebuild. And basically this is going to be a bit of an indication to see how the transmission's wearing, how dirty the transmission is, and yeah, if the fix that we did, which was a bit of a dodgy fix, has worked. However, the X5 is quite large and she's tight to get in, but we should do it. And what we might do as well, we've actually got a bit of a road trip planned in this car, so we might just see how hard it's going to be to fit the transmission cooler. We got Winston helping with the guiding. Plenty of room. Plenty of room. Okay. You could probably go a bit more, but I think that's probably close enough. It feels higher than I did it last time. In fact, it is higher. So what we're thinking today is basically drop the oil, make sure it doesn't look like it's full of metal. And if you're new to the channel, we actually rebuilt this transmission about a month ago. It's done about 3,000 Ks. And when I say rebuilt it, we took it apart and replaced 3 broken bits. But we're going to drop the oil and just see what it looks like. And if everything is looking okay, we might then have a crack at fitting the trans cooler. We've been doing a fair bit of time with this, and a transmission cooler would be invaluable to extend the life of our already worn transmission. But we'll work out that in a sec. But yeah, first things first, we need to make sure that we can crack the fill plug, which should be fine. It's that one just there. And yeah, once we know we can actually fill oil back up, we'll drop the pan and inspect it. So we've cracked the fill plug. It was all fine, and now we're going to crack the drain plug and actually drain the transmission. Dave, you excited to see what colour it is?
Absolutely. How many Ks do you reckon it's done on this fluid?
Dude, it could be 4,000 Ks.
No way.
We've done a lot more in this car than we probably should have.
It has been very useful.
Yeah, over Christmas it was like what everyone was using. Hey, it's still sort of
Transparent.
red.
It doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's not too bad.
We'll let it drain out. We'll see if any metal comes out, or is at the bottom. I'm not going to take the pan off. It's just a flush. It did have a new filter about 3,000 kilometers ago. Dude, it's still red.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
Better than I was expecting.
Absolutely.
And of course, we couldn't do a full flush last time. It was only what come out when we took it apart, so the torque converter was still full of fluid.
True.
Awesome, awesome. All right, I think we should start looking at how to do the transcooler.
Mounting it, all right.
All right, guys, so we've decided to have a crack at fitting the transcooler. When I bought the transcooler, I bought the cheapest one I could find on eBay. It's a 30-row, relatively thick. It looks like a decent cooler. However, it's probably a bit too big for this specific application, just in regards to packaging it, but I think we got a solution. We're also not going to run a transmission cooler thermostat. Now, I know a lot of the guys in the States will swear by those, and I know in the colder climates it is a bit of a must. I do not have a thermostat on my N54 where I've got a similar trans cooler setup, and it's absolutely fine. That trans gets to temp, no issues. We are in Queensland and it is too hot here too often, but we're going to do a slightly different setup to what we've done with my car. We're going to retain the original heat exchanger, so that will in a sense help heat up the transmission to a point. Obviously that's got engine coolant flowing through it. That's what is currently cooling it down. So that's always going to be at around 100 degrees Celsius. But for the actual install of this one, we are going to cut into this line here. Now, I know people say you've got to cut into the return. I'm not sure whether that's the return or the one going in. I can't see whether it's going to make any difference whether you've got it going to the external cooler before this one it's just going to be sucking a lot of heat out of the trans fluid. So yeah, we're going to cut into that one. The reason for that is it's just easier for us to get to and for the fittings that we have on hand to work. And in regards to the fittings, I actually had a leftover fittings kit and braided line from when I did my N54, and that's what we're going to use in this case. Now I did buy these Dash 8 AN push-on fittings to adapt into these trans lines, but all of the Dash 10 stuff is what I had left over, and that's why we went with the Dash 10 cooler. David, could you show them where we're going to put the actual cooler?
Mount it, yeah. So again, it is quite a big cooler, and we thought there'd be plenty of space on the X5 as it is a massive car to fit, but believe it or not, it's actually pretty tight. So this is probably one of the only spots where we can mount it, which it shouldn't look too bad. I mean, you don't really see it once the bonnet's shut, but being nice and big, it should work really well. And down there, you can it's actually resting on the bar area there, so that'll be nice and easy to mount and very solid. And then at the top here, I mean, it shouldn't move anyway, but just to secure it, we might just put some zip ties around that hole and to the fan shroud maybe. Here is the braided line. You can see, I actually haven't got a torch on me, but the braided line is just running through the side of the thermofan shroud, and then pops out down there, ready to go in there, and we'll just plumb it into that side, run it inside of the barrio and into that side, and that should do the job.
I think let's just try it.
Start cutting. No turning back.
Nope.
Fingers crossed.
It's not like we've got a big road trip planned.
Nope. So that's the first line all done?
It is, and this is the second time I made AN lines. We don't have AN spanners, so we mark the alloy.
Scratch them.
But I ain't too fussed. But yeah, it's always surprised me how well they go together. I feel like they can hold 1,000,000 PSI. Okay, so we've got the trans cooler sort of dodgily mounted and the lines connected, and we sort of got lost track of time because this fitting, for some reason, took over an hour to do, and you can see it's still not tight. The hose looked fine. We both had a go at it. We just could not get that fitting on. I started to actually film how we do the fittings and thought probably shouldn't do this because we obviously don't know what we're doing. But the other three were all fine. Just, yeah, for some reason, we cut the hose again. We end up using 2 different fittings. Just one of those things, guys. Anyway, trans cooler is mounted at the front here, and we did actually fill it with transmission fluid and tried to fill the lines. I don't know if you need to do that, just trying to stop any airlocks. And we have it all plumbed in down here as well. Now it looks like a bit of a mess because it is, but yeah, basically you can just see there where the 2 Dash 8 push-on fittings are joined into the factory line. Yeah, it's still going through the cooler. When we were trying to wiggle the cooler, we did actually make it start leaking coolant. So that's awesome. I know they have an O-ring that goes between the transmission cooler and the radiator. Hopefully we've just disturbed it, and hopefully when the system pressurizes it'll be fine. But now we're going to fill the transmission up and basically just check everything for leaks. Gotta wish us luck because we're supposed to be leaving at 3 AM. It's 7 PM. You shouldn't leave these things this late. So we've just done the first fill on the transmission, and you're supposed to get, basically you fill it to the fill point and then start it up, get the transmission up to temperature before you fill it again. And honest to God, it wouldn't have been running for 2 minutes, but obviously there's still heat in everything. The trans cooler is already hot, and yeah, you can see there, it's at 47 degrees already, so it's already radiating heat out. That's good, Dave.
It's surprising because we really just turned it on.
Yeah, and no leaks. Everything seems good. Amazingly, even the coolant's not pouring out, which I was worried about. Okay, how hot are you supposed to get it before you check it again?
About now.
About now.
In fact, probably crawl under, open that fill plug.
And just fill it again. So we top it up again and then we go through the gears?
Yep. While she's running.
Okay, so that was over full before. As you can see, we've made an absolute mess of everything. And we'll plonk that in. Just as warm, but not too warm. Oh no. Uh-oh. Okay, so that's... Alright, we're good. But we are getting low on trans fluid. Nearly put 20 litres through this thing.
Should tip this up.
Yes, you can.
Oh, no, there's plenty in there.
Okay, that is now
Streaming out again?
starting to. I think it will if I take the hose out.
Okay, okay. Alright, well...
Do you want to run it through the gears while I got the hose in?
Yeah, I'll jump up, eh?
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Now with it properly filled and now the engine has stopped, again it hasn't been running for that long, I just want to check what it did actually get to.
50. So the heat in the transmission is crazy, it's not doing anything.
That is ridiculous. When we were towing the cars, that transmission must have been pretty warm.
Damn. Well, it's a bit of a janky setup and we need to make some top brackets, which will probably make a bracket between there and there. But for now we've got cable ties holding it in place.
And it is mounted down on the rad support panel down there.
It does clear the bonnet, and unfortunately we did have two of these to make it sort of symmetrical, but I fucked it, so...
Actually, I want to see what it looks like with the
Bonnet shut?
The bonnet shut. You can't, no, you can't see it. Yeah, but it's pretty noticeable. And there's a little hole in the bar there as well, isn't there?
Yeah. So it should get some airflow, and I don't think it's going to impede the actual engine temps, but we will see tomorrow.
Yeah, that's going to be the good test for it.
Do you want to just have a quick look and see if we've got any leaks coming out of these bottom fittings?
There, I mean, there's a lot on the floor.
Yeah, that was my bad. My bad. The hose come out as I was trying to get the last bit in. It seems to be dry.
That is
lucky, because it felt hell dodgy.
And we haven't got long until we've got to be on the road.
All right, Dave, I think we can end it off.
Well, I'm going to call that a success.
It is. So the initial repair worked. The gearbox wasn't full of metal when we drained that oil. The oil looked pretty good. We've now added a cooler, and the idea of that is tomorrow we're going on a 2,000 kilometer road trip to pick up a car in this thing. The cheap $3,000 X5 with a broken transmission that we dodged together, we're now going to be really reliant on.
Really reliant. We're going to be pushed for time. We've got to do it in one whole round trip without stops. And we're going to be towing a
back.
Yeah, so carrying a lot of weight for a very long distance and a long time. The transmission is going to feel a lot nicer with that cooler on, I reckon. Also, what you were saying about the not having a thermostat, and particularly being in Queensland, and also...
Basically, I know with the M54s, and it's a heavily debated thing, you're supposed to run a transmission oil thermostat, so it'll keep looping the oil through the transmission until it gets to a certain temperature, then it'll go through the cooler. Here in Queensland, we run particularly hot, and they're just not needed, so I don't have one on my car, and I have no issues.
Yeah.
I think California's in the same boat.
Well, and we're also a little bit sympathetic to...
The way we drive.
Yeah, we don't just turn them on and then start burning it. We do let things warm up first, so I think this car's going to be fine even in winter.
It's gotten to 50 degrees C just idling on
That's
the
a good point, yeah.
So
that's a good point.
It's
fine.
It doesn't take long to get up to 70 to 80, and that's where we want it to be, 70 to 80 degrees.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, we're going to end it off there. Dave, have you got anything to add?
Yeah, that's all right. We got it. I think that's all right. I'm glad that worked because...
I was pretty sketchy with those lines. It took a long time, though. Anyway, let's get cleaned up.
Yep.
Get this loaded up and get ready to get on the road.
We'll do it. All right, thank you very much for watching, guys, and we will see you in the next one.
Peace.